Hey everybody, my name is John. I've got a pedal company called Electronic Audio Experiments, and today we're going to try something a little different. This is a rig rundown. So some months ago, we all decided here at the shop to start a band, and we wanted to perform, record, mix, engineer the whole thing in-house. And that band is called Weird Machine, and we released an EP called Normal Music 1 a couple months ago. And I just thought this would be a cool opportunity to talk about the tools of the trade a little bit and how we're using them. So without further ado, let's get into it. So, first things first, guitars. This whole EP was written around this beast, the Obstructures 0.75B, a brutalistic slab of machined and barely finished clear-coated aluminum that sounds like a dump truck full of razor blades going down an escalator. It really is a magnificent instrument. Just the raw simplicity and brutality of it, I think, is really unique. But for all of the kind of intense descriptors I could give this thing, it really is just a clear, articulate instrument that can do quite a lot. It will give you whatever you put into it, even if that is unrelentingly bright and clear. So this was really like the sort of spark for a lot of the riffs. Like the way this guitar makes me play changed a lot of the sound of this record. So you'll hear it very shortly. Next up will be pedals and amps. So here is the pedal board. I'm going to give a quick overview of the signal chain to start. So first, obviously, starting with the guitar, we go into my trusty Sonic Research Turbo Tuner. I love this thing. I have talked about it multiple times over the years, and it's very accurate. It's got a great mute on it. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. It's very sleek, no nonsense. I cannot say enough about it. Next in the chain is actually the key input of this noise gate, which I use for hard cuts live. It's not going to be part of this demo, but I have to say I am quite a fan of the Zool Plus, so kudos to the folks at Fortin for making a noise gate that isn't just for the annoying metal guys. Sorry to any annoying metal guys out there. Next in the chain, after the key input is the OXEAE fuzz, our collab with Obstructures, followed by the Red Panda tensor, and I'll get to its unusual placement in the chain shortly, followed by the Benson Stonk box. I love this thing. I can't say enough about it. Followed by this suspicious unmarked box, which is just two of our Halberd overdrives in one box for reasons I will get to shortly. Then we've got the actual gate circuitry of the Zool. Again, just to make sure I can pull off hard cuts live. Nothing too intense, but it lets me have more control over how much feedback there is. And next we've got the Asheville Music Tools ADG1, which is a delay that is very near and dear to my heart, partly because Hawker taught me a lot of what I know about analog circuitry, and also because it just sounds awesome. And then rounding out the signal chain, we have the EchoFix Spring Reverb, which is another pedal that just has absolutely blown me away in recent years. For this band especially, I've really taken to like organic, sort of realistic reverb sounds, room reverb, spring reverb, plate reverb, all that stuff. And this one, I think, really does the job. For the purposes of this demo, we are using my trusty Benson bell ringer, which was part of the record in stereo with the Science Mother, well, dual mono. And miking it up, we're using a new acquisition, which is an OMA ribbon mic. And that thing is awesome. It does everything I want out of a good ribbon mic. It's very neutral. As Miranda likes to put it, it's not very hyped sounding. It just is a representation of what's coming out of the amp. So for this type of work, I think it's really excellent. We use another ribbon mic on the record, the AEA N22, which I'm also a big fan of. So needless to say, I think it fits pretty well for this. But there are external factors like the particular mics, the cabs that we used on the record, the sound of the room at Machines and Magnets, that all really contributed to the end result. We're not going to replicate them here, mostly going to talk about the pedals, but I wanted to provide that context. So first things first, The halberd. Well, I guess first things first, clean tone. I guess I kind of spoiled it. Here is the basic sound coming out of the amp. So that's the neck pickup on the Obstructures. I mostly spend time in the neck pickup unless I'm doing some really aggressive stuff. But here's, for comparison, the bridge pickup. Both incredibly clear sounding. I spend a lot of time in the neck pickup. I like the fullness, especially for a power trio style band. I like what it does with octave fuzz, which we'll get to momentarily. So now I rarely use pure clean cleans. I really like the sound of a little bit of overdrive and grit and compression paired with overdriving the first tube in a tube amp. So we do that with the left halberd in this pair of halberds, and that's what this sounds like. So if we're talking about clean tones to begin with, on our song Coping Mechanism on the record, I used literally just this chain, the halberd, into the Benson paired with a little bit of the Science Mother. And we used a lot of room reverb on the actual record, but in this case, I'm just going to use the Echo Fix to kind of evoke that. And this is what that sounds like. So it just gives that nice subtle halo of a good spring reverb. This thing sounds incredible if you turn it up a little bit, give it a little more spring drive, a little more reverb volume. I love this thing. I also like to use it for reamping ambient loops that tend to be a little bit dry and digital. It just is amazing for that. So that's the Echo Fix and my sort of basic halberd tone. So now we're just going to kind of go through the various sounds I use in the order they appear on the pedal board. We've got the halberd, as the bass line. This just, it eats up whatever you put into it. It's really handy for that sort of thing. But I also like using a halberd earlier in the chain. And so this one is pushing the second one. And so you go from to this. And that's that clang that people talk about. Kind of a funny thing, but it just sounds good. It's super clear. Because this guitar is so bright, we're using the halberd in deep mode. If we use it in clang mode, it's... which is really, really nasty, even by my standards. In a mix, it works great, especially with a lot of bass and drums, etc. But we usually keep it in this mode when I'm kind of pushing the second halberd. So then we've got the Obstructures fuzz, and this is my kind of destructo button. The octave fuzz here has a really crushing texture. It sounds like this. And it's got a ton of sustain. It does that cool intermodulated thing. I've got a little bit less gain, a little bit more texture. Oh yeah, this thing is zip tied to my board because that's how this line is. The texture is where the octave comes from. So if we, if I zero it out, you just get, it's like a pretty thick op amp fuzz. With more gain, you get. And the weight is an input bass cut, so you can... Which is actually a sound we made use of on the record a decent amount. This kind of more like thrashy. Yeah, it's a little bit thrashy, a little bit clangy. Pairs really, really nice. So getting it roughly back to where we had it before. I also like to use this a lot for leads, you know. And that's where you can really take advantage of those intermodulation textures, which I love so much. There's some cool sounds pairing this with delay and with the tensor, which I'm going to come back to. The next gain sound I make a lot of use of on this is the Benson Stonk Box, which this thing I think is a total sleeper. Genuinely a very underrated part of Chris's lineup. It is just a really raw, like tone bendery fuzz. It's got the temperature compensation that Benson has been known for, and it sounds like this when everything is dimed except for the volume. So yeah, I love it for that bright cutting thing. Honestly, it does a little bit of what I like in a harmonic percolator, but a little bit less like snarly torn speaker and more kind of directed in your face. It likes single notes, it likes chords, and with the gain all the way up, it just is devastating. So huge fan of this thing, genuinely. Shouts out to Chris for making one of my favorite fuzz pedals ever, actually. Gain all aside, I'm going to talk about the tensor a little bit. There are a lot of great granular glitch, reverse, stutter pedals out there. This one is the one that feels the most natural for me to use in like a live guitar-based band context. There are others I like for ambient music, for drone music, and exploring those textures, but this one just feels very immediate. This board is on a table, so I can't step on it and show you how I actually use it in a performance setting. But ultimately, I like to use it to grab short snippets of audio that are really, really heavily distorted. And then it's kind of like there's this weird, surreal, time-traveling, drunken second guitar player in the mix. And it could do a lot of stuff like that. When you pair it with the kind of nastier intermodulation coming out of the fuzz, it's this texture that just feels like a swarm of noisy guitar. It's a really, really fun thing. Cool, obviously, for prettier sounds too, but there's a lot of demos on YouTube for that already. So, but yeah, I love this thing. I've had this for a few years now, and I feel very comfortable with it. It feels like an extension of my playing. So, next up, last but certainly not least, is my trusty ADG1. Now, you'll actually notice this one is black, which is cool. I think a little bird told me they're going to make more of those, but 90% of the time I use this for slap delay. We obviously make another analog delay, sending V2, but that pedal is kind of overkill for this band. It lives in my ambient setup because that's where MIDI clocking and tap tempo and the LFO are all more handy. For this, I like just a good slapback sound for leads and for adding some texture to clean stuff. So... just like it adds this neat atmosphere. And then of course for leads, we can do stuff like this. And the way that this thing can decay for a really long time without running away is very, very hard to achieve in a delay. So I'm a huge fan of this thing. There are lots of other ways to use it, but this is how I use it in this particular rig. If I'm using, when I'm playing louder, I like to get the drive up too. Just pairs really nice with the halberd, with the natural gain of the amp. Yeah, I love this thing. One of my favorite pedals. So, yeah, so that's the pedal board. Good stuff. So I hope you all enjoyed that. If you think this is interesting, if you like what we have to say, if you want to see more stuff like this, please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Help us bend the algorithm to our will, as it were. And until then, cheers. Have a good one.